Welcome to the Shadow Babies podcast, a romance fantasy podcast between two friends in town, talking about all things related to our beloved romantasy genre and anything else that we dive off of, whether it relates to motherhood or life or work or balancing all three. We are so glad you're here. We are doing part 2 of Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros and the madness, turns, and twists of this book, and we hope that you enjoy it. If you have thoughts, insights, or anything that you want to share with us, you can reach out to us, shadowbabies@podcast@gmail.com, or on our social media Instagram handle @shadowbabiespodcast. We may not get back to you right away because we're trying to keep all the spoilers at bay. No spoilers for Onyx Storm or any other series for that matter. Full on Iron Flame. So,
okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to part 2 of our Iron Flame discussion, where we literally pick up at part 2 when Basgiath has been torn asunder.
But in like real timeline, Onyx Storm has already come out, and you've already gotten it delivered to your door.
I have, and I am about halfway through, but I am saving any and all thoughts. I don't want to let anything spoil anything for you.
Great, thank you so much.
Yes, and like I told you earlier, I have completely avoided our Instagram because I don't want any spoilers.
I know, and I feel like now that it's been a week out, this is when people are starting to be like, okay, that's enough time. Yeah, I can talk about it.
Right. Like, I have nothing else going on except to read this book. So I'm like, oh, good for you.
Yeah, I wish that was us.
Yeah.
And then last weekend you went on a big plane trip.
Yes, I did. I did a 36 hours in Seattle to celebrate my childhood best friend's baby shower. And that was really wonderful. Like we talked about, it was a wonderful mental break, an emotional break to just have some space. 6 hours on a plane by yourself.
Oh my God, heaven.
With your own thoughts.
Do whatever you want to do.
Literally. Was wonderful, but physically it was exhausting because it was like flew out at the crack of dawn, landed, got right to my friend's house. She had back-to-back baby showers for family and friends. And then from there, after I hung out with her for a little bit after the shower, I went to my other best friend's house, stayed with her. And then in the morning, met her baby boy, who was born last December.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then did you just read Iron Flame on the plane, or did you have another book you were switching back and forth with?
I thought about bringing another book, but I was very determined to only have, I had a purse and then like a duffel. And so I tried to leave space because of a number of reasons. So it was just that book because I didn't bring I don't have a Kindle.
You don't do a Kindle? That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I just had this big ass book.
Heavy book.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
But it worked out. It was good. It was nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know, big weekend. I could not believe that Onyx Storm, which you were prepared for because you reread in a timely manner, was going to come out right after your big plane trip.
Yeah. And now I'm halfway through, and I will reserve all thoughts, judgments, and emotions for later.
Yeah, I haven't started at all. But yeah, we were just saying, like, I definitely
You have so much going on.
Yeah, and I want to savor it. Like,
yes,
this is so special. I was even thinking. So this weekend I had the kids all by myself because Dave was at a ski weekend, and I was like, maybe I get a night.
Yes, you should.
I should like do a hotel night.
Oh my
or
gosh,
something
yes, you should
for this book. Like, I've been excited about this book. Like, reading uninterrupted is so special. It would mean so much. Like, maybe I should just do that.
I think you should pick a really lovely hotel. Take yourself out to dinner.
I know. Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. I probably won't, but like I am imagining it being like, this would be great.
Or maybe, okay. That's like a big leap. Maybe like see if you can take an afternoon.
Yeah.
Or like, a couple of
It's
hours.
so hard. Like today, because I wanted to finish Iron Flame for this. Yeah. And I was like, oh, Dave, can I just, now you're back. Like, can I just have like an hour to finish? I was like at 85%, which is, still a substantial
This
amount
is a big
of reading.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, of course. But I couldn't find the time in the day to actually extract myself from both of the kids.
It's hard.
It is really hard.
Yeah. Because their nap schedules aren't aligned, right?
What happened? Oh, well, during the baby's nap, my 3-year-old was like, take me on an adventure. And I was like, oh, of course.
Oh, you're so good. I'd be like, this is a good time for independent play. I love you.
Yeah, but we had like a date, which like she never asks me for dates.
Yeah.
And because she's been really with Dave the whole time since we've had a baby. So like the fact that she wanted like special time. And then I was like, okay, like Dave can do bedtime because I am all set.
Yeah.
I did bedtime 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
And then she was like, but I want you for bedtime.
Oh dear.
Like, oh, how
special.
Love that. Yeah. So I did take the time, which was great. Yeah.
Good for you.
But yeah, I started a new job this weekend. Stopped my like super long maternity leave that was actually being laid off. So which is why it was 8 months.
Yeah. Take it for all it's worth. I'm glad you had that time.
Yeah. It was like so amazing, and I'm really grateful for this new job. But yeah, that was probably like one of the best times of my life. 8 months off with a baby.
Oh, I love that. And it's to an age that's like so fun and sweet and happy.
This is the best part.
It
like
is the best part.
This week when I started my new job, she started saying mama. So it's like she's like belting out, like crying for me, and now she's saying mama, and I'm like, I'm working from home, which like, you know, blessing and a curse, but I'm behind a door listening to her. It's like,
do you need to borrow my noise canceling headphones?
They did send me some, but I was like, what if something happens?
Like,
see, I can't extract myself.
It's hard. You're more like my husband, Andrew, where he's like, no one can, not that you are like this.
No, I am like him. I think we both determined this. Yeah.
Like, he's like, no one can take care of the baby as well as I can.
Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. When you said that was Andrew, I was like, oh, I feel a kinship with him.
Yeah. Whereas I'm like, okay, I'm a little offended because I am the mother.
Right.
So if you want to take some time.
I think the parents.
Yes,
like the two parents.
Exactly. Like, please don't forget that I literally gave birth to them. I'm fully capable and your feelings are valid, but hopefully that reassures you. And he's like, no, intellectually I know that, but emotionally, like, I can't help myself. And I'm like, all right, well, whenever you figure that out, I hope you take time for you, which he actually is tonight. I'm very proud of him.
Oh, what's he doing?
He took my dad. So my parents flew into town yesterday.
No, wait, from Australia?
They're nutty buddies. Like, they flew in from Australia when I was flying back home to Seattle. So what was that?
Last weekend?
Yeah. The 19th.
So they were coming back from their big trip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we like met at the airport.
Oh, no way.
As I was about to like go through security and fly out. TSA pre-check is worth every single second.
I need to get that.
Oh, love it. Because we like hung out for 45 minutes and then I went to my gate. But yeah, they had 1 week at home and then they flew here because my mom and dad missed them. You know, they were in Australia since early December.
Wow.
They left soon after my second one's second birthday in his early December. So yeah, they were like, well, we'll come back, and, you know.
So Andrew's hanging out with...
So yes, so he took my dad out. They wanted to watch the like AFC and NFC championships.
Is that the football?
Football.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that is the football.
Okay, so... okay, so we're starting at part 2, which was it was so good. Be able to do this in 2 parts and then have a true part 1 and a part 2.
Right.
And I have to say I loved part 2 much more than part 1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Part 1 was all building and building and building, and part 2 was like everything.
Yeah, part 1 you're just like languishing in Basquiat and having like a long distance relationship. And now moving into part 2, all of a sudden the world starts expanding because we're getting into like the Griffins, like the Flyers. How do you say it? Poromiel?
Poromiel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poromiel?
Yeah. We go beyond Navarre. They get to Ryerson House. They get their bearings, and then Violet she continues to get shut down by Xaden to go and get the luminary because she now knows like all she needs to do allegedly is wield in front of Takaris, and then he'll give them the luminary. Decides to fly to Corden without Xaden knowing, and Mira flies with her because she's like, you're obviously not going alone. And then Brennan is like, well, now that I'm back in the picture, you two are also not going without me. So then they fly, and then Xaden is right there, and that's like, you get that line like, you're not where I left you, Violence.
Yeah, and how creepy and crazy
Yeah.
that, okay, you're so excited,
Yeah.
you're Violet, you finally get to go there,
Yeah.
and Xaden is at this palace.
Right.
Like, that's wild.
And he has a room there, and like there's a lot of stuff that she's about to uncover.
Okay, so this is what I didn't understand about the whole cat of it all.
Okay.
They were betrothed, not engaged, betrothed was Xaden's words.
Yes.
How is that going to work?
How?
I mean, Xaden is, I'm imagining this is a couple of years ago. It's before his dad dies.
Yes.
Yeah. So the revolution hasn't completed, and yet Xaden is betrothed to a griffin rider who Navarre is fighting.
Yes.
His dad is like Xaden's third in line. His dad was the king, right?
The Duke of Tyrande.
Okay, he was the Duke. So Xaden is a known Quan. Like, he's a known person to the Basgiath royals.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he's, so if he marries a griffin rider, what?
Yeah. Here's my guess.
Okay.
Although it's like kind of, I don't know if it's implied or you're just like left to assume. My guess is that Fen Ryerson created this agreement with the Viscount after he seceded and led a rebellion and was like, should I fail or should we remain separate from Navarre? The next best political step would be to create a politically arranged marriage. And who better than the heir to the Poromial throne?
Yeah.
And so my guess is he wrote this all up and came to this agreement with not the Viscount, but his aunt. She chose the Viscount even though he himself didn't have
That's right. He doesn't have
any heirs.
Yeah.
And so then that falls to his two nieces, who are the closest descendants.
Is it Serena and Kat?
Serena and Kat.
Yeah.
I don't know why his father chose to have him be betrothed to the third in line. Because the Viscount...
what about Serena?
Yeah. The Viscount is first. Another guess is Kat was underage, so the betrothal didn't come into effect until she turned 18.
I wish we had gotten a little bit more information about all of that because it seems super messy, super political, very dramatic.
Yes.
Like, I feel like we were missing something.
Yes.
And then Xaden says it lasted a year and it didn't work out.
Right.
And
less than a year, 3/4 of a year.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it was because of politics at play, things fell apart with the rebellion, or it seemed like the way Xaden was describing it was not a match.
They were not compatible.
Yeah.
Right.
But I feel like there was more there.
Yes. This is where, and I am not at all coming down on Rebecca Yarros and her world building, because clearly it's incredibly vibrant and draws you in, and we're very, very invested here. But this is kind of where I wish we had some of Sarah J. Maas's attention to detail. Of like diving in this deep, because I feel like like you said, there's so much that we're left to either guess or assume, and I'm guessing she has tons and tons of notes, but then it becomes a little bit too historical or maybe bogged down, like the plot doesn't become as exciting. But these are all answers that I feel like,
I imagine it's coming, like
maybe, yeah, I hope so.
I mean, there is a point later where Xaden says, I think it's kind of like at the end when it's like the culmination of their big fight. And he's like, okay, she's like, no more. Ask the question.
Don't make
Violet.
me guess.
Yeah, that was so annoying.
It's a game.
I guess because he wants her to want the answers and want the answers to be, negative or bad and she would still love him no matter what. But like, that's so frustrating to like make me ask versus just like bring me in and tell me.
I would hate that.
And he's like, what would you like to know? Would you like to know about my dad, the rebellion?
Yeah. I'll answer anything. Yeah. You just have to ask it.
My grandfather who was with Seagal.
Yeah.
And she was like, your mom?
Yeah.
Like,
and he's like,
no.
No. Wrong one. Although, okay, you have, similar to sort of your question in terms of like putting it all together. How was Xaden's grandfather bonded to Scale, but he was really young? He died really young.
Oh, I want to know so much about that, and also how he died, how Sigale survived.
Right.
Tarn had a rider previously
that
we don't know about.
It's my suspected Brennan's lover's he was the rider.
He was the rider when Brennan passed away.
Yeah, he was the siphon.
Oh, yeah.
What was his name?
But I want more information about all of that.
Yes, give me more. She's probably like, girl, I am tired. I don't want to tell you more. I'm writing what I'm choosing to write.
It's coming.
Yeah.
And it kind of is what Violet's asking and what Xaden's giving.
Yes.
And I'm sure that there is so much more about the betrothal with Kat and why it fell apart, and it all relates back to the rebellion, because maybe there's a prequel.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That would be cool. I want to meet Fen Ryerson. I want to meet General Soren Gale before she is who she is, in these books.
It feels like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Where it's like the parents,
yes.
Yeah, the mom and the dad.
You want to know more.
Yeah. And you get like little flashbacks, but J.K. Rowling never gave that to us. So.
No. It's rough.
Yeah, so she goes, Xaden says his line.
Yes.
Not where I left you, Violence.
Yes.
And she comes into Kat's power.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be such a horrible experience, right?
It would be so bad.
Have these feelings and be able to normally compartmentalize them and suddenly have them flare to life and have absolutely no control over them.
It's a very relatable situation.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, you never want to be hanging out with your boyfriend who you love, your new boyfriend who loves ex-girlfriend.
No.
Who clearly is still obsessed with him.
Absolutely.
She's like not in a I love you way.
No.
She just like wants the power.
She wants the crown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably why they're not a match, because Xaden wants love.
Yeah, that would just be so awful. And then to have her be able to, because you're trying to keep your cool in a situation like that,
right.
and then have her be able to heighten your emotions.
Yes.
It's so embarrassing.
I know. And Mira's even like, are you okay? And she's like, no. And I don't know why.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's why I felt like it really did feel like a PMS moment, because you're like, this isn't right. This isn't real.
Like, intellectually, I know I'm better than this, but emotionally, I don't care. Like, I want to rip her eyeballs out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to see that Violet is not calm, cool, and collected, and always using her mind. Like, she has deep emotion, and not just the perfect kind of emotion of compassion and selflessness and a sense of justice, but that she too is also incredibly human and feels jealousy and feels insecurity as someone who is possibly the smartest person in the quadrant and like so gifted, has the most powerful signet, but even she can succumb to insecurity. And even Xaden is like, I don't get that. I don't understand how you don't feel good enough. And that's the age-old question for every woman out there. Why don't you feel good enough? It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. And in this instance of an ex-girlfriend, it's
right.
like, it's not like Xaden knew Violet when he
right.
was betrothed to Kat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she was doing her own thing, right? They weren't even in each other's orbit.
I love Tarn later.
I love him.
Yeah, I don't know if he says it during this whole Kat situation, but later when maybe they're going into battle or something, and he's like, why are you guessing yourself? Like, I chose you for a reason.
Yeah, like, cut it, stop it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love imagining like an old grizzled dragon in your head being like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, his commentary too of like, and yet here I am being subjected to the romance of 20-year-olds.
I watched a clip on Instagram of Rebecca Yarros getting interviewed for Onyx Storm. This is like no spoiler, obviously. I haven't read anything. Mm-hmm. And she does, I think someone had asked, do you know where the series is going? And had you drafted it all out? And
right.
I didn't know this, but she had the TV, they were planning to pitch it as a TV series as the books before Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
So she sketched it all out for TV too, so that way they would know like how all the seasons would go and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought that was really interesting Yeah, that like she didn't know if they were going to get the TV series.
Probably like a pipe dream. Like, maybe I'll plan this and see what happens. Like,
yeah.
Way to be magnetic, girl. Yeah, plan that.
Exactly. Yeah, and so then they like pitched it, and obviously it happened and got greenlit and everything.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I know that you don't love TV.
I hold it with a grain of salt. It can.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like the books are. I can see it as a TV show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So and then I thought the other thing that was funny with the whole cat of it all is this is kind of the first time that we ever see Violet get dressed up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and she and Mira are like having like their dress up sister time.
Yeah.
I'm happy for them.
That's
they get
cute.
This moment.
I love that Mira too is like, you're gorgeous.
I know.
Like, yes, I like seeing. I mean, I would imagine like sisters are super supportive of each other, but it's just such a nice example to have, you know?
Yeah. And then Takara's tricks them.
And is like, yeah, sure, you can wheel as long as you hit this box in the middle of a field while, you know, there's a storm.
Right, yeah. So it's a creepy starved venin.
Yes, in the box.
Yeah. Who is telling Violet, I'm going to bring you back to my stage.
Yeah.
So, like, they all know that they're after her.
Right. I kind of wish she gave that more thought, because throughout the book in Iron Flame, whenever she meets a venin, they're like, you are wanted. I will not harm you. Like, I kind of wish she would be like, I wonder why. Like, think a little bit more about that, because I also want to know why.
Oh my gosh, later when when she's like fighting a venin and they're like, they say something about like bringing her back, and she's like, well, I won't kill you because I want to hear more about this. It's like, Violet, we know.
Yeah.
We know what's going on. Those dreams you were having are real.
They're real. Gosh, come on.
Get with it, Violet.
You're smarter than this. Yeah. But I mean, I guess that's holding a lot of things at once. She's probably got to like put something off to the side.
I love all the three siblings coming together to destroy the venin. And really it's Mira kind of at the end.
I love it when they make her, I mean, she passes out from basically warding off the siphoning of a venin, but the fact that she does it and protects them in their tiny little bubble, and then Violet saves them with her quick thinking. This is where she's super smart and takes a risk, and I love that.
Oh yeah, she throws the knife. So that way he's stuck. The venin is stuck.
Yes, and then basically gets electrocuted in the, right?
Yeah.
The grass. Yeah, so good.
And Xaden is so mad.
So mad. But I love that he's like mad, but he's like, that was great. You did it. You're the best. I can feel upset and that I got super scared, but like, I trust you. All right, I'll give you the luminary after Xaden basically almost suffocates Takara's to death. And then he's like, fine. No, you get the luminary.
Yeah.
But you have to take the flyers. You have to educate them and keep them safe. And Brannon is like, done.
I mean, it's so funny because the flyers are doing so much more educating to them once they get back.
Yes.
They know about the runes.
Yep. They know about the venin. Right. They know how to fight them. So, like, why would that be a dread to take them on anyway?
So they have to take them through very high altitude, too high for the griffins. Mm-hmm. So it's really painful and like a really difficult hike for them over this like mountain climb.
Yeah, it's like a 12-hour hike.
Yeah. And the griffins are having a really hard time, and the dragons are sort of just like flying over, and Violet and team are helping everyone along.
Right, because it's basically it is the only path into Tyrandor and into Aritia, but it's been booby-trapped, kill griffins and flyers. So then...
Right. There's like boulders coming down on them.
Literally, like they have to undo all of the traps and then make their way through. So it's like super slow on top of everything else. This is where like the rider-flyer tension really builds, because they're kind of like grouped together and they're trying to get them to bond by doing this. But unfortunately, like it's just too deep of a divide, I guess, between the two.
Obviously. Yeah. They've spent their whole lives...
centuries, right? They've literally been at war with each other for 600 years.
Yeah, and the Griffin Flyers have a total reason. There's
Yes.
been, wards specifically keeping them out. All of their people have been getting killed.
They've been abandoned.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're just supposed to be like, oh, we're like comrades in war.
Yeah, like, okay, now we love each other.
Yeah,
like,
and I'm
no.
going to help you.
Right.
When you haven't helped us. You know what I thought was crazy? You had mentioned to me that you were reading this on the plane and getting pretty emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, like more emotional than normal about Luella. Her big accident and
so sad.
Violet almost having her hand and then she falls.
Yeah.
And I was looking it up because I have heard that being on a plane makes you more emotional.
It does.
Like, just in general, like with movies or that you're watching or just like leaving your loved ones behind as you like go on a trip.
It's more intense.
Yeah, and I guess it's the same word that they use in this book is you're experiencing hypoxia.
Oh.
Isn't that funny?
That is funny.
Yeah, so like they're all dealing with like altitude and things like that, but that's also what you're experiencing on an airplane.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and then so if you feel like the book you're reading is amazing or like the movie is like really hitting on an airplane, it's because you're like
you're a little oxygen deprived. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
I know. So I thought that was like so relating because they're having hypoxia, you were having hypoxia.
Wow, it's like being a method reader. I will go through what you're going through. Feel what you're feeling.
Yeah, but then Kat super holds that against Violet because she was the one who could have saved her.
Right. It's like her shoulder was completely dislocated.
So then they get back and I forget, was it Brennan who's like, let's just get this out of the way. You guys are all mad at each other. Anyone can challenge anyone. You can only challenge one. So,
Settle your scores now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. It might have been just like a mass professorial choice to be like, squabbling amongst yourselves, you little 20-something-year-olds, like, let's get over our egos and put the bigger picture ahead of us. And so, Kat challenges Violet.
And she knows all the moves.
Yeah, they like literally mirror each other and like they kind of come to an impasse physically. I love though when she realizes that like, oh, Rhiannon trained me too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like so badass. Like, yes.
She like crushes her with her head.
Yeah, uses all of those great moves and takes her by surprise.
But Kat like doesn't want to yield.
No.
Yeah, and she's like gonna do it to the death. Doesn't Xaden like pull Violet off or something?
Well, he's like, I don't care if you kill her, but you will.
You will. Yeah.
It would be really inconvenient to have Cyrena pissed at us, but like, do what you gotta do. And then she's like, okay, I don't want to kill her, but I need help because I can't stop. So he stops her and takes her away because distance is the key. She has to get far away from Kat.
That's right.
To be less susceptible to her power. And then we get to the wonderful, sexy scene of my house, my chair, my woman.
That really was the best one.
Because
it's like on a throne.
Oh, yeah. It is, yeah. I sometimes when I read these like sexy scenes, I try to imagine like how it all works. So I'm kind of like, is the throne padded? Like, I don't quite, I need to understand a little bit better.
Oh my God. I imagined it like such like a Game of Thrones kind of throne. Like, yeah, just like massive and like hard and like not very comfortable, but you don't care.
You're like, well, I don't care. Exactly. I'm like, this is a wooden chair. Like, but
walk it back for me.
Yeah. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. They are lost in each other. This is great.
That's why these books are just so funny, like the whole romantasy genre, because like I'm like so into like the politics, the adventure, and like the war, and then they're just like hooking up,
and like suddenly smut.
Exactly.
Like, wait, what?
Or like when they got to Takaris's house and like, they were about to enter the room, and I think Xaden and Violet were like in a moment, like making out or holding hands or like face to face or something, and everyone is waiting for them to make their move.
Oh, right.
Do you remember that?
In the like dining area, they're like, he like has them in shadow and they're like making out like crazy. And...
Yes. I remember them just being like, what? Like, you guys have like this diplomacy action to do. Like...
Get it together.
oh, right, Emma, this is a romantasy.
Yeah. Which is maybe why perhaps, I don't know, that you're enjoying it more, but Throne of Glass is much more fantasy forward. So you are getting like hints of stuff, but it's, it's not like romance writer turned romantasy writer, like making all of this fun stuff just suddenly sprinkled in. And
I mean, I get it's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. And it gets you into the mindset of like literally being 20 and being obsessed with your boyfriend, but also this is your life where you're like riding a dragon.
Yeah. It is a little, I love it, but I'm also like, okay. Like, he delivered her a devastating kiss. And I was like, devastating? What?
I know, some of the things they say.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you are my gravity. Like, okay, guys.
So, words of affirmation, not your thing, Emma? But no, I get it. Like, it can get a little like, okay, all right, let me just hold on. Let me buckle up for this and then get through it and enjoy it for what it is. But then, like, yes, you want the substance, the answers. And
yeah,
I think that's why I personally would never be an only romance reader. We gotta get I like some substance in there.
Yeah, I want the plot.
Balance. Yeah.
It like later when they're going to the big, like right before like the biggest battle, and the mom's like, okay, we're 10 hours out, get some sleep. We need you to be like rested for this to work out. Yeah. And they have sex instead.
Sure.
I mean, I was like, at that point, it's like, Emma, don't be so, like...
Don't judge them for...
Yeah, like, this could be their last night on Earth.
Right.
You should be doing that.
Emotions are heightened. Yes.
But I'm like, no, get some sleep.
Yeah. Be practical, guys. You'll survive this and you can have sex later for as long as you want. Exactly. In a comfortable room and not on a chair or against a wardrobe. Like, come on. Yeah.
Okay, so they have the best sex ever of the book. Yeah. Probably.
Or, like... I think what makes it, I think my guess is why also a lot of women like it is it's only about her.
Oh, yeah, that time.
Right. Like, he only makes her come. Not only once, but twice. And, like, makes it very, very clear. And then literally steps back and is like, hold on. Let me rein it all in. Because that was just for you. Because you need to understand... It is not about the politics for me. It is not about a crown or making the best plan or whatever. Like, you're it. You are my plan. And that has to be abundantly clear to you.
There are so many instances in the book before we get to his second signet where he kind of drops, like, where we are. They actually use the phrase, we are endgame.
Yes.
Which is funny. And then... they say just like, you know, it's you and me for the rest of our lives. Like, right. It is a lot of that kind of talk, which, you know, that's so nice.
It is nice.
Yeah, and I feel like as like a 21-year-old, that would be like everything to hear, like the very first time someone's saying something like that to you. But it's wild that he still has so many secrets when he's acting like this is going to be someone he's going to be with forever.
Right.
But then not telling her like basic things about himself.
I know. It's almost like he's gearing up. He's like, you'll find all this stuff out, but you have to know the roots are there. Like, I'm not walking away. If I'm walking away, it means I'm dead. And then when I'm dead, I will wait for you on the other side. Like, it is the romance of all romance in terms of sentiment, which is probably why he doesn't fully understand or sweat the details and the secret stuff, because he's like, you're gonna find out. I have given up trying to keep secrets from you. I can't get myself to tell them to you because I have trust issues, which is why I'm trying to make you guess. But, you know, they're like learning together, and he's trying to make it very clear, like, you're it. And if you're not it, then there is literally no one else.
Yeah.
So, and it's reassuring. It's not a game. Hopefully, Rebecca Yarros is putting that in there to, like, at least I am like, okay, she's telling the reader, like, this is it. Have all the theories that you want, but this is it.
I think I believe, I know last time I was like, no, I see him as a toxic boyfriend and might not be endgame. Yeah. And I see it. If we can cure him of venom.
Right. Yeah. There has to be some push and pull. You can't it can't be like And now we love each other forever and we never fight. Like, there will always be some tension. But
it's a lot of fighting.
There's a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
But I like that there's a repeated, like, and we will get through this, you know?
Yeah. It'll be like, Venin are coming, or, you know, we got to get the words up, but let's talk about our relationship.
Right. I was like, come on. Does this matter?
Oh, right. The other thing I like, too, is now we're kind of into the part of part 2 where they're in, like, college-y time again, but they're doing it at Riorsan House, and they're learning runes. Mm-hmm. And Felix is training Violet more for using the conduit to help her kind of not be so, I don't know, kind of be more targeted with the lightning signet. I just loved the runes. I love the idea of the runes.
I love that too. I love that because it's known or assumed that Griffin flyers don't channel dragon like the same way that riders do with dragons. Like, they had to basically get creative and find other ways to make themselves an equal match to who they're fighting.
Yeah, and you get to be like, okay, if I use this, I don't know, like picture, and then put a little spell or magic into it, it'll do this very specific thing. So, like, Xaden gives Violet something that, like, on her dagger is runes to block Cat.
Right.
There was actually on her dagger something that helped unlock when for the escape.
Right, the first RSC thing. But it was like, he did it in such a way that it would only unlock based on need.
Yes.
Like, you have to be very smart. So it's like, you don't just rely on this big, heavy, magical power coming out of a dragon. Like, you have to be cunning.
Yeah, and have all these, like, little secret things in your arsenal.
Yeah.
Do you guys play board games?
We do love board games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, a Fourth Wing Empyrean series board game would be like a blast.
So good.
Yeah, like, everyone has a signet. Yeah. There's all these runes everywhere.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think this is, like, all set for a board game.
Yeah, like bonding to a dragon. What kind of dragon?
Yes.
And, like, yeah, you're like, there's a part of the gauntlet. That's so fun.
Yeah. Once the runes got there, it's like, oh, this is it. Like, this would be a blast.
Mm-hmm. Good thinking. What games do you guys like?
Oh, I mean, just, like, the usual suspects, like Catan.
Okay.
We play this one that I love called Wingspan.
I've not played games like Catan or Catan. I'm really big into word games, which is probably why I'm such a word nerd. I love Codenames.
Oh, Codenames is so fun.
So fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay, but so then I guess the next part is when they're doing that. Oh, this is wild. So Violet is also spending the time with Dane to try to translate or figure out what she messed up on.
Right. Well, he calls her out, too, because she only translated the part about raising the wards. And he's like, you didn't start from the beginning?
Oh, yeah.
She's like, sorry. Time was of the essence. But then that's why it takes them so long, because they start from the very beginning to make sure they haven't missed anything.
Yeah. So they're doing Warwick's journal, and they figure it out. At this moment also, I think there's, like, some information about where the Venin are, and they're coming up, and things are looking a little bit dire. And I just, like, could not believe it when they finally figure it out, and she sees Xaden, and she's like, I'm going to tell you later. And then she goes off with Rhiannon to do this, like, kind of challengey thing.
Yes.
That doesn't seem imperative.
Right. This is when they run into Solus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, oh, yeah, we just have to, like, close a couple of boxes and try to get more than the other team. But I'll be right back.
Go through these dragon caves.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I'll be right
back. Come back, and then we're going to do the wards. The most important thing you could possibly be doing. Right.
It's like, you can't make an exception this time because he's like, just tell me now. I will get it done now. And
or get it set up for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, because you'll need Tarn. Bye.
Wild.
No, Violet.
Yeah, I don't understand the decision making there. I wish we gotten a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
So I could just be.
It is. Sometimes it is like, is this in character?
Yeah.
Are we doing this? Like, what needs? Why does this need to happen?
Okay, so they're in the cave, and they're doing this, like, box challenge, and Solus is there, and he's been
hunting them.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Solus is Varish's dragon, and he only has the one eye, thanks to Tarn.
Yeah.
And Darna is with them?
She's the only one small enough
to fit into
the caves.
Yeah. Tarn's like circling, but
right.
Yeah.
He's like, on the outside. Yeah. I guess like in that experience, a lot of stuff had to happen plot wise. Like Violet and Kat have to come to an understanding and respect each other. Sloane has to manifest her signet.
Oh yes, because she's a siphon.
That happens.
Very important.
Very important. And then Indarna kills Solus.
Seemingly with like out of care.
Yeah, she's like, well, I don't give a fuck. But it's interesting because Taryn feels guilty because he's like, now there's like a mark on her soul that she'll have to bear for the rest of her existence. And I'm like,
Well, last time
that reminds
I was
me
asking
of something.
Yeah. Oh. I was asking you last time, like, I don't understand why Taryn just didn't kill Solus then. And you were like, oh, wait until you like reread this book, Emma.
Yeah.
But
shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you really shouldn't be just killing dragons.
Right.
And I kind of I know she's an adolescent, but it a little bit speaks to her character that she would do that.
It makes me wonder if she is the key to saving Xaden. Like, if, I don't know that there's an equivalent of dragon venom, but it's like if doing this act of taking another dragon's life as a dragon marks your soul, is that a similar change to when a human siphons or takes power from the earth? And it is the answer sitting there all along. And I'm finding it really frustrating in the books. I know that in the first one, like Indarn is a baby, but now she's like an adolescent and has her own thoughts, and they tend to like be very overprotective and dismiss her a lot. And I've started to get really irritated on her behalf. Turns out, she's a very important player in this whole thing.
Yeah,
and
she's her own breed.
Yeah, she's the seventh. Like, they probably shouldn't have continued to dismiss her. So then they come back and then they raise the wheel.
Oh, yeah. Good job, them. And they're like, Xaden and Violet are like coming up upon the wyvern as the wards are getting raised.
Yes,
and then the wyvern hit the... This is how I imagined it in
wall.
my head.
Yeah. It's like an invisible wall of like, they can pass through, but then they immediately die.
Yeah, which was very satisfying.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, they succeeded.
I'm so not a map person or location person. Yeah. So all the names of the different locations and where the wards extend to and the borders, it's so hard for me. So sometimes I get lost with all of that.
I mean, because like the book has the map.
This is the kind of page that I pass by very quickly.
I can't study it and be like, got it.
Yeah,
no.
That makes sense.
No, I just assume like Navarra's in the middle and Aretia's on the side somewhere.
Yes.
And,
far.
Yep. And Corden is like by the water. Okay. Like,
it is. I like it when they are like, this is an 18-hour flight on your dragon.
Right.
Like, that's always wild to me. Like, oh my God, you guys are going to sit outside on the top of your dragon for 18 hours.
Which tells us the continent is huge.
Yeah. Okay, so they got the wards, awesome, and then Malgrim calls the meeting.
Right. And he's basically like, I've seen the battle, and we lose, so you need to help us. Oh, but before... Second signet, Violet figures it out.
Violet figures it out because...
So at first... Okay, page fuzz.
Violet asks about a second signet, doesn't she?
Yes.
So I guess that one is still at large.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I should get closer to the mic. So they're talking in the cave, girls are chatting away. And then it's like, oh, second signets only happen when a dragon bonds a rider in the direct familial line as its previous. And that's Sloane. But there's an equal chance of it causing madness. And so Violet, they're talking. And because Quinn is bonded to Kruth, but she's not punished because it's not directly familiar. It was like her great aunt was the previous rider. So she has a more powerful signet, but it's not, she doesn't have two. And then, they're going back and forth. And then Violet has the realization. It says, gravity shifts.
Yeah.
It can't be right. That would mean. And then she's like, yeah, okay, now I need to think about this, and realizes like Xaden's been hiding a second signet from her. And then it's like they're at the farthest point, and then she confronts him, and he comes clean, and he's terrified. And
which is great that he does come clean, because he's never told a soul.
Literally.
And Ciel told him not to.
Right.
So he goes against, his like kind of pact with his dragon.
Right.
And tells her.
Right.
And then, that's awful, because you can read intentions. And she already was so mad at Dane for reading her mind.
Right.
Yeah. And
puts
now
him in a hard place.
Right. So she feels like she's been potentially manipulated.
Again.
And how embarrassing for some of the things that she was thinking.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like such a sad scene too, because he's like, before they're away, and this big moment is coming. She's confronting him, and he says, "How long do you think it takes for a person to fall out of love?" And they have she has the realization, and he's like, less than a minute. But I love that Violet like rises to the occasion and is like, my love isn't fickle, okay? Like, this is really shitty, but I still love you, and I'm committed to this. Let's figure this out. And secrets are not a thing anymore. You were telling me everything. And he agrees.
Yeah, and then I really do love how he brings her in right away with the second signet. Yeah, and starts like telling her what people are thinking. And it's kind of wild, and I feel like she's a little blown away when she realizes just how much information Xaden is constantly able to get all the time.
Yes, master of secrets. Then we get to the meeting, and that's how and then he's like telling her what people are thinking or intending that aren't shielded.
Yeah, the one person who wasn't shielded, and he was like, and she's super scared and also mad at your mom right now.
And is hungry.
yes. But it's like, whoa.
Crazy.
And that was such a wild meeting. That was a great meeting. It was like nice to come up against Melgren and be able to put him in his place and be like, you didn't help us before. You haven't helped any of these groups for years and years, and we don't have to come to your aid.
Right.
And then to have the mom, General Sorengale, find out that Brennan is alive.
I know. Mama Sorengale comes out for just a second.
To kind of like yell at them and be like, no, you have to do this.
Right.
And then Brennan's like, you've sacrificed your children for this lie.
Right. No. Like, you don't deserve our help. And they leave.
Yeah, totally wild. I remember reading that and like not expecting the meeting to go that way, where they were just going to completely leave them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure where it was going to go. And then I like how it turns out. I like where it goes, where, they go back to Aritia, and Violet is like, okay, we have to do something. Like, once she realizes Basgiath is completely vulnerable.
Everyone was gone from Samara. And then I think it was that they noticed that the Ven and the Wyvern were waiting for 3 days, and that's just sort of waiting for something. And so she figures out that they are waiting for the wards to fall.
Oh, that's right.
And then they're all ready to come and kind of infiltrate.
Right.
And that they have made everyone kind of move to Samara.
Yes.
And so it's totally, for the taking.
Like a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
So then they go with like a small, with what they have, but it's obviously like a small crew to see who's there. And it's like just the mom, Nolan.
Yeah. What's he going to do?
Yeah.
And like, I think she says there are maybe like 4 officers at the school at this time. Like, everybody, literally the entire War College has been drained. And I just don't understand the resistance. Like, like Violet and crew are totally labeled as deserters, and they don't want them there, and they want to basically either kill them on the spot or like shove them out. And Violet is like, we are trying to help you.
We're here to help.
Like, get your heads out of your asses and like take us to the Wardstone, because it is about to go down.
Yeah. And she's like, no, I can't show you the wards. And they're like, you have to.
Come on.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I'm not so dumb to not leave them guarded. Oops, the guards are dead.
Oh, no. Like, surprise.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
And then Jack Barlow's there being a Venin with his dragon. So, So do you think he like lured the dragon there? Bade was there as a partner with Jack and then is unexpectedly murdered?
I don't know. I don't know if, Bade was being... Maybe we'll find out, but like, was she being power hungry and thought Jack would be her ticket to being a more powerful dragon because she's at like on the smaller side, orange dragon. And who knows? But it also seems like he was able to gain control of her.
I thought that was so crazy where he says, why do they always think that we're the lesser species? Like, it was so easy to control a dragon. So Venons can control dragons.
Right.
And they had said that earlier, the Venon, when I think potentially it was the starved Venon with Takaris, who was like, ooh, I'm going to bring you back to my stage and you'll bring a dragon with you.
Right.
So yeah, they want the dragons.
Yeah. The dragons hold the most magical power. So obviously they're the most coveted. But yeah, it's interesting. And so, yep, Jack slits his dragon's throat and her blood puts out the power of the wards.
Yeah. And then it's down
and it breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when they know. The mom is like, okay, we have 10 hours before they come.
Yeah.
Let's like make our plan. And she starts sort of directing the army.
Being
and
the
Mira
general.
steps in.
Yeah.
And is like, I think you have it a little wrong. I think we need to reorganize your wing and everything. We need to like.
I love that.
Yeah. Like put the signets that make more sense together.
Yeah.
And she listens to her, but she doesn't listen to Violet.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that's protective? Like she just doesn't want to put her baby at risk?
Probably.
Yeah.
I know. It was truly amazing when the mom absolutely sacrifices herself for Violet.
It's horrible.
Yeah, and the above the chapter, it was the letter to the dad.
Yes.
Like
you would think I would sacrifice for the country, but if I have come to my end, it is for our children.
It is for our children.
As a mother,
especially as like this like evil, mean general mother.
I know.
Yeah, who like has never paid Violet a compliment, and then she tells her, "You look good in black."
Yeah,
like yeah, she starts telling her like all of these things and getting kind of emotional. And I love when Violet was like, "I think Kat's wielding." Like,
yeah, this can't be right. Exactly. Imagine if I read this part, Emma, on the plane, I would be sobbing. I should have gotten that far, but yeah, so big. It's crazy, and it is also wild the level of emotional response her children have to her death. Like they're devastated, even though she is clearly there was a line. There's Mom Sorengale and there's General Sorengale. So there's like that part of them that's mourning her as their mother, and it makes me wish we had more of that. We were given more of that background.
Well, it seems like there's like tons left unsaid for all of the children. Brennan has just seen her again after being away for 6 years.
Right.
I mean, maybe Brennan was over it, but I feel like they all were constantly seeking her approval in some way or another, like maybe deep down or maybe more at the surface.
Sure.
Yeah. And then having that's all you got.
Yeah, right. Like dying for her approval and then not getting closure. Like there's a lot of emotional baggage there for sure.
And there's also so much like she knew about the Venom this whole time. So they miss out on who the real mom was. And,
right.
Yeah.
I want to know more about her relationship with their father. And like they must have had a plan because they both knew the secret. And,
exactly.
Like what were they thinking? I want to know.
Yeah. And why did the mom take the wrong side of the rebellion?
I know.
Like what
was she hoping for? I don't know.
Yeah, did she really think that the wars would never fail? I mean, maybe. Because she was like, why would you need to look at our wars right now?
Yeah, like she's not.
Oh, the 2 guards we have protecting them are gone?
Yeah. Gosh. So surprised.
They're camouflage, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously the fighting with the wyvern and the venom.
Crazy.
It's wild. It's just like constant. And these are either still in college or still in school age cadets.
Yeah.
Or just got out. Like Xaden has just graduated.
Right. And they're fighting for their lives and for the existence of the very, society that they live in.
Yeah. And they've only just started learning how to fight venom.
Right.
Like in the last month or so.
Right. They do pretty darn great for being novices.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the mom puts the little rein on for Violet. But Violet's like, great, now the griffin can't fly.
Right.
The one part that could actually help us because they know how to fight venom and because the mom hasn't thought about fighting alongside Griffin.
Right. Great point.
So crazy. Yeah, and then you think that Rhiannon might die. You think that Sawyer might die.
Oh, Riddick.
Yeah.
And Kat has a moment. Like there's a lot going on. And
It was I thought it was like good battle, a good fight. It kept me turning the pages, like getting excited.
Absolutely. And then when you get to the point where they bring Sloane in to siphon Mama Sorrengail's power, and like
Mama Sorrengail kicks Violet out of the way.
Yeah, she's like, get out of here. I will die, not you. And when I was like skimming through to reread again to refresh my mind before I came back over, and like Sloane didn't want to do it.
Right.
I mean, this is a girl who lost her mother herself, and she's come to care for Violet. And even though Violet's own mother killed her mother, she hesitates. And so, Mama Sorrengail is like, I killed your mother. You can do this. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Tries to get her angry.
Which is good.
It is.
Because Violet is like, that's my mom, Sloane.
Yeah, don't do it.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, like I would be like, oh my God, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And it's so.
Okay,
wow.
but then like the biggest thing, like the big, huge cliffhanger is that Xadens a Venom.
Oh no.
All right, you talk through it because you have more context.
Okay.
I was like midway through the Xaden POV chapter, and so I feel like you have so much more to say.
Well, so it's interesting because like we get his experience battling and then defeating the general, and him reaching for power to make it, and Scale being like, no, I chose you. You can't do this. Like basically it's an abomination what he's about to do, but he chooses to do it for love, for Violet. She is his reason. But he like dreams about it. So it's kind of interesting. So, you're getting the retelling, and then he like wakes up next to her. So I'm like, part of me when I reread it again, I was like, wait, was that a dream? Was that a flashback dream? Sounds like it was. And then he, gets out of bed and goes and seeks out Jack Barlow, and is basically told, like, you're it, brother. You're in it with me. Like this, our souls cannot be mended. There is no cure. And that's it. He has, signed his own fate, is what we're left with.
That's so awful.
I know.
It was a more confusing book on the first read. I just remember like ending it with Xaden's event and being like, what? How does that even work?
That's not fair.
Exactly. Like, so that's it, right? He's like dead.
Right.
We don't get him back.
Right.
Yeah.
Gosh, so much happens in the second half. And we, like you said, end in this crazy place of, well, what will happen now? Now we know Xaden's soul is broken? They have defeated the Venom only so far as to put up the wards back in Basgiath, but it
didn't go to...
It cannot be extended to Aritia because it's only one dragon of each kind, and Andarna is the only one of her kind.
Yeah.
So they have the wardstone in Basgiath, but that's now the protections only go as far as they were before.
It did seem just so bleak.
So bleak. Like, is there an up? Are we just in a free fall right now? That's kind of how I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that I reread Iron Flame this time again, I see how in Warwick's journal he basically lied, because he said the blood of life of the 6 and the 1. So Violet,
said that?
Yeah. So Violet thinks the 1 is the wardstone. But it's the 6 and the 1, meaning the 7th breed.
So it must be that the 7th breed is much more rare and special.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're just separating them from the 6.
Exactly. Or he's
in such a
doing
way.
it. They even imply like he is leading them away from like people, future generations not being able to raise wards. He makes it intentionally difficult to follow. Why? Why don't they want anyone else to raise wards again? Whereas Lyra does. She tells the truth and says that there are 7 dragons.
Yeah, and then there was the little part above the chapter where Lyra says, I am the one who thinks that, we shouldn't just protect our kind, I think.
Right, that it should be extended.
And that ruined my life.
Yeah, like I'm paying the price. Like, what? What price? I want to know.
I'm excited. I'm glad that I found a friend who wants to talk about dragon
so,
books with me.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. We're officially like 6 months into our podcast. Happy half year.
Yeah.
Almost. What would be like January 31st would be.
Yeah. Anything else you want to read after this?
Oh, well, I guess I know we're like romantasy, but I've been recommended a couple of like more fantasy oriented books with some romance sprinkled in.
I would totally read those. Yeah.
And the one I have in mind is just, they're big, but there are only 2. And that is The Day of Fallen Night, and then The Priory of the Orange Tree is supposed to be really, really good. It was written by the same woman who wrote not The Bone Collector. That's like a scary movie from the 90s. I think The Bone something. Samantha Shannon is the author of that book.
Okay.
That might be fun. And it's only 2.
Yeah. I know. I feel like you are someone who likes a shorter series.
Or or like something that I know I like completed series.
Yeah.
I don't mind the waiting, but it's like, I want to know what happens. The other one we could read if you wanted to do more like romantasy is The Crowns of Nyaxia. That's also a duology. It's vampires.
Okay.
I don't know if you're into vampires. Oh, I don't know if you wanted to do When the Moon Hatched. Book 2 comes in the fall. Fall.
And wow.
Oh my gosh, I would love that.
Book.
It's a big one, and there is a lot to go through. And knowing how much you love it, like I want a deep dive.
Yeah.
So maybe that can be our next one.
It's like massive. Yeah. So I feel like we should do that one. And then like if I'm thinking about like what my TBR is, have you seen the Emily Wilde Encyclopedia of Fairies books?
No.
Okay, so that one I kept seeing on like Reddit.
Okay.
And it's like more cozy. So we don't have to read it, but I think I'm probably gonna read it. It's like more cozy, like romantasy.
Okay.
And she's like I think like an anthropologist who like, I actually have no idea what it's about, but there's a third one being released like right now, I think.
Cozy as in like beach ready, like just kind of like enjoy it type?
I think it's like sweeter than
like death.
I'm in a war college.
Blood and gore and ruthlessness. Okay, all right, like let's go with
slitting my dragon's throat over a board.
Yeah, like definitely if the Empyrean series had a soundtrack, it would be a lot of like metal.
I think that doesn't she released the soundtrack and it's Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I don't get that. I was just thinking that. I'm like, why is this Taylor Swift? Why?
I know, it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's great though. I mean, whatever. I'll do it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I'm riding.
I'm here for the ride.
Yes, I'm riding the high of like women being powerful, women kicking ass, women being the smartest, and men falling in line.
Yeah. I went to Barnes & Noble and I was like trying to find, I buy everything on my Kindle. So I don't see these books in the wild.
Yeah.
And I was trying to find like where they would be. And I went to the fiction section. No Sarah J. Maas over there. No. I went to romance. No, nothing was there. And then I went to science fiction fantasy. And first of all, I was so surprised that was a section. And then
it was
also like very women, tons of women authors. It looked like very girl section.
Yeah. I think it's really exploded as like female authors like letting their voices be heard.
I loved it. I was not expecting it to be like just all of the books that we like all together.
Yeah. I loved it too. I love too that like the women are able to put their names out there because like J.K. Rowling published under J.K. Rowling because her publishers didn't think that a woman writing a fantasy book about a young boy would sell.
Yeah, that's wild. I know. And sometimes when I do see the books, like books being recommended or whatever, like there's this one that I started but I need to get more into. It's called Reign and Ruin and it's by J.D. Evans. And I was like, I don't really want to read a book by a guy. Like I don't want to read like a romantasy written by a man. I'm just like not interested in that. And it's a girl. It's a woman.
Oh, okay.
A female author. But she's J.D. Evans.
Okay. Right. Probably had to make that choice because she needed to sell her books. So
well, I think when we had talked about like Throne of Glass, how or like any of the Sarah J. Maas us where it's like, it's like political and crazy and fantasy
Yeah.
and adventure, but then we also know like what they're wearing and
Yes.
what they have for dinner, and
Right.
we're thinking about like the dates and like the first time they locked eyes
Right.
and all of that stuff. And
The emotional piece of it, the emotional visual piece of it is all there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, this has just been such like a positive part in a crazy time in our lives.
I know. I'm so grateful for this, and I'm so grateful that I just casually mentioned it to you and you took it and ran with it with me.
I know it was, I was just thinking about it because like maternity leave kind of ended, but you had come over just because I had the baby.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, let me like see the baby, see you.
Yeah.
And then we were just like chatting.
Right.
And it was just such a positive part of maternity leave to be able to focus on something that's like not baby, not sleeping and napping and everything. And
it's a beautiful form of escapism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful for you.